In this video, I will be interpreting the most important parts of Marilyn Manson's natal chart. Firstly, what I find most interesting about Marilyn Manson is how he literally manifests the energy of his three main signs. His Leo rising, Leo moon, and Capricorn sun can clearly be seen in his essence. You know his album Antichrist Superstar? Well, if you take his Capricorn sun, we find someone who shines brightly in Capricorn energy. Capricorn often manifests as literally the devil or Satan. It is the sign of Satan. Saturn, which sounds like Satan, which could be the personification of Satan, rules over Capricorn and Aquarius. The tarot card for Capricorn is the Devil card. I'm not saying that all Capricorns are Satanists or devils, or even Marilyn Manson himself, but I'm making a metaphorical connection here. I do find it interesting how Marilyn Manson physically exudes Capricorn energy. From my observations, Capricorns tend to be mousy, but sturdy and earthy. In Manson's case, I truly see that, except he's more of a worm rather than a mouse. Capricorn, not Scorpio, is also the darkest sign of the zodiac, and you really see a dark aesthetic in Marilyn Manson. If you take his Leo rising and moon, this gives Manson great leadership and a desire to be the center of attention. Leo risings have charismatic and powerful presences to them. They gravitate towards a stage and gather an audience before them. Marilyn Manson's band turned from Marilyn Manson and the Spooky Kids to just Marilyn Manson. Also, he's the lead singer of the band, and he definitely controls and leads it. People with prominent placements in Leo also have things going on with their hair. I remember watching in a documentary that Manson cared deeply about his hair back in the day when it was really long. So if you combine a Capricorn sun, which is the devil or the Antichrist, and the Leo sun, which is someone who likes to shine brightly, basically a superstar. So if you combine them together, you get the Antichrist superstar. So I just think that's super interesting, right? Because there's this dark, shy, inhibited Capricorn sun, and it's being shoved to the front stage with this dominant Leo energy for all to behold, despite how ugly or wrong it may be. With this Leo rising and moon in Leo, it's safe to say that many of the crazy stunts Manson performed were to garner attention, and he probably relished in that attention. But he also performed those stunts to make a point, which can be seen from his Mercury in Aquarius, which I'll get into later. However, Manson wasn't always someone with a stage presence. He was a shy person growing up. Capricorns often struggle with self-doubt or shyness regardless of how bright and sunny they are, because they're ruled by Saturn. Saturn is the planet of limitation and restriction, so it takes a while to develop or cultivate things where Saturn has an influence. Furthermore, Manson has Saturn in Aries square his sun in Capricorn, so this is a double whammy. Growing up, I think he felt quite self-limited and shy and had to work really hard to overcome it. You can see this in his life. Saturn in his chart most likely represents his strict religious upbringing, especially his experience regarding the dogmatic religious education that he had. Saturn is in his 9th house, and the 9th house has to do with belief, religion, and schooling. And then his Saturn is also in Aries. Aries has to do with independence, autonomy, and individualism. So Saturn is restricting his personal autonomy, it's putting a damper on his beliefs, or what he's allowed to believe, and it's also a hard aspect to the sun. A square, or a hard aspect to the sun, also signifies difficulty relating to the father figure. In Marilyn Manson's autobiography, I read that he feared his father. His father was an obstacle in his life, rather than an encouraging and uplifting figure. All of this contributed to his shyness and self-doubt. When he first started performing in his band, he had intense nerves and anxiety. Given that the ruler of his chart is his sun because of his Leo rising, this theme of self-doubt was likely the most prominent in his life. I have to commend him for how far he's come, though, because it's quite obvious from an astrological perspective how difficult it must have been for him. Manson rebelled against religion because it was clearly holding him down, and his Mercury in Aquarius likely represents his intellectual opposition to religion. Mercury is one's mind and communication, and Aquarius is a rebellious and intellectual sign, and it's clear in Manson's ideas and art that he challenges the status quo of just about everything in our culture. He's a liberated thinker. Mercury is also exalted in Aquarius, so Mercury does a tremendous job here. When reading his autobiography, some of his short stories, and also the fact that he started out as a journalist and not a singer, makes a lot of sense because his writing was very, very good. His Mercury in Aquarius placement gave him an ability or a natural talent to think and write. Mercury is also in his 7th house, so his mind is concerned with discussing and talking to other people, since 7th house rules other people, which would make a lot of sense because that's a great placement for interviewing other people, in other words, journalism. But it's also funny because Marilyn Manson is a Leo rising, and Leos are self-absorbed. And I remember how funny it was after reading that he interviewed himself when he decided to become a rock star. I thought that was clever, which can be seen from the Aquarius Mercury, and also utterly self-promoting Leo rising. Manson's Mercury also has a ton of aspects from other planets, which likely gave rise to his interesting intellect, ideas on life, and skill as a writer. Mercury square Mars can give someone a sharp and vulgar tongue to the point of being offensive, which we clearly see in his career, or at least the early part of his career. Mercury trine Uranus can give someone an innovative and unconventional approach to thinking. Mercury trine Jupiter can give a more philosophical and exaggerated approach to thinking. Not to mention, he has Jupiter and Uranus in the 3rd house, which gives lots of power and 3rd house manners, like singing, writing, or journaling. If Manson decided not to be a singer, I think he would have been a great public speaker, or journalist if he decided to keep doing that. And finally, he has Mars in Scorpio, trine Venus and Pisces, which is a really great and harmonious placement for making art. As you can see, not only was Manson a singer, a music writer, but he also made paintings and wrote poems, right? He was an artistic person, and this harmonious placement really gave him that